Oh no, second time. Right. Hello. Hi everyone. I think that's worked. We are now live. There's a few people still joining, but for those who are here already, thank you very much for putting the time aside and hearing from us. We are going to be talking about how to market without mass email today. So I suppose what we can do to get kicked off is go around and Lauren, do you want to introduce yourself, and then Will, and then I'll do it, and then we can jump into the content.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kris. So I am Lauren Miller. I work for Kyloe Partners. We are Bullhorn's first and longest standing partner. We offer various solutions to help Bullhorn customers get more out of their CRM.
Nice. Yeah, I guess that's me next. So I'm Will. I work for a company called Sourceflow. If you don't know what Sourceflow is a recruitment marketing platform. Basically, we just build recruitment websites and marketing tools for recruitment agencies. And I've worked around recruitment marketing for seven or 8 years in-house. So I've felt all the pains, and I'm here to share some of them with you today.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And yeah, so I'm Kris Holland, not Kitto Consulting. That is the name of the business that I work for. We're a marketing agency specifically focused on the recruitment space. So we've got a lot to get through. So in a term coined, I don't know which one of you was it a your thing, Will? Yahoogle?
I didn't invent it. I didn't invent it. I wish I could claim that, but I think it's like a celebrity couple, isn't it? Someone on the internet's made it up, and it's just caught on.
Brangelinas.
Yeah.
So after the email changes by Yahoo and Google, aka Yahoogle, in February, I think there's been a lot of people in the recruitment space who've been worried about, what happens if what happens if we can't send these huge emails anymore. For context, if you're sending more than 5,000 emails a day, and I think it's 0.03% of your emails are marked as spam, then that means you can be blacklisted from Google and Yahoo servers. So pretty serious consequences for recruitment businesses who do a lot of their business development, marketing, and sort of growth through email. So the idea of this today is that we've got Will, who's going to be covering all things website. How can you get the most out of your website to be optimized as possible? Lauren, who's going to talk about data CRM optimization. Again, so how can we get those two things sort of working independently and in collaboration with one another? And then also I'll cover some of the marketing side of it. So hopefully as a three, we can give some real practical takeaways as to what we can do if that mass email approach isn't working or isn't working as well as it could before. So I suppose if we start off at the top of the funnel or at the start of the journey, Will, thinking about websites, like I suppose if we could just start by thinking about how can a recruitment company optimize their website and sort of make the most of the real estate they've got so they're in the best position to be able to market themselves.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the first thing that needs to be done is that it needs to be set up properly. So all your systems are working together, they're working well, and so the website can do its job, basically. The first thing I'd recommend doing is integrate your website with your partners, your ATS CRM system, and your multi-poster, your jobs poster integration. They're going to help you bring in your data, post your jobs to your site properly, bring in candidate applications back directly to your CRM. So that's going to keep all your data clean, which is obviously really important for sending good emails and making sure your emails land and don't get blocked by Google and Yahoo. And then I think the other thing that you've got to do is set it up so it's optimized so you can get found on search engines. What I mean by that is, you've got to register your site with Google Search Console, Bing Webmaster Tools, Google Analytics, submit a sitemap to them, conduct your keyword research, make sure that's all put together properly, and then make sure you're always optimizing the pages that you put onto your website, the new content you put onto your website. So on-page SEO, descriptive URLs, compelling titles, meta tags, and stuff like that. And if that's all working, your website stands a good chance of performing. And then I think the step down from that is having a content strategy that that works, that consistently builds on that SEO ranking, and pushes people to your website. So plan a year of campaigns. This is kind of marketing 101, but plan your year of campaigns, your blogs that are going to contribute to those, your vlogs, your events, your podcasts, and maintain a consistent LinkedIn strategy, a social media strategy that's pushing everything to your website. And then break that down into bite-sized chunks, weekly, monthly, go over it as a marketing team, and then implement those actions so you're constantly pushing stuff to your website. And that's going to really help your website to perform.
I think with what I do, working for a marketing agency and speaking to recruitment companies all the time, I have a lot of people ask me about like SEO, and you've given some practical advice there already, but you mentioned keywords, you mentioned search terms and Search Console. How can I find what keywords I should be looking for? Or, are there any sort of tools or sites or anything like that you would look at to say, right, well, these are the popular things that I want to rank for? And, if I'm a founder or perhaps a solo marketer, is there any practical bits of tools that you could use to help with that SEO piece?
Yeah, I mean, if you're starting your journey in it, Google share loads of articles and videos and stuff. So if you just search on Google, I want to improve my website's SEO, a load of stuff's going to get pulled up. And then as you delve into that, you'll find tools that they recommend or that other SEO experts recommend, like SEMrush, classic keyword tool that's been around for donkey's years. I don't think they've ever changed the UX on it. But it's a great way to see what keywords are relevant for you and what your competitors are using. And it's relatively cheap as well. So yeah, I would really recommend that. The Google articles will all be updated regularly as well. They'll have videos feeding off those, and they'll literally hold your hand and guide you through it. But if you're not confident on doing that, and you're a recruitment business, your website is your lifeblood a lot of the time, work with an SEO agency, I would recommend as well. And they'll take you through it step by step. They'll advise on keywords. They've got years of expertise, and they're not really, really expensive, but they'll help guide you in the right direction about getting that set up. And then they can step away. There might be the sort of agency that would help you with content. So yeah, you could work with them on that.
Great, yeah, cheers. So I suppose we talked about optimizing the website there and making the most of what you've got. And like you say, that lifeblood of a recruitment agency is a good website. So if we jump onto the data and the CRM stuff, and I suppose talk about potential there as well, Lauren, what is the potential of having like a really great, well-organized CRM system? Because I think a lot of recruitment companies will look at this and think like, that's a real hassle and I just don't fancy it. But like, what's the end goal? What would great look like? What does having a fantastically organized CRM unlock?
Yeah, so your CRM really sits at the heart of your business, and how well you use that really makes such a huge difference to your success and can be such a game changer. We know that the top performing recruitment companies prioritize tech, and we also know that data quality is a key part of that, and is just crucial for so many reasons. So one example would be being able to make decisions that are backed by accurate data. So understanding metrics like time to hire, conversion rates, candidate redeployment rates, and also being able to enable revenue by trusting that the candidates you have in your database will meet the needs of your clients and that you can deliver on their expectations. So that's one thing. If we think of kind of the marketing angle, so segmentation, we know that mass email marketing isn't serving us like it used to. Use your data to create smaller segments so that you can send really, really targeted campaigns that will resonate, as well as using the data to automate personalized campaigns that again will really resonate with the recipient, and help you to engage not only the people who are actively looking, but also to reach those passive candidates too. Enhancing candidate experience is another big one. So if you've got a CRM that's really patchy, you've not been tracking interactions properly, you don't have that single source of truth, the information you have is out of date, then the experience you're delivering candidates is really going to be negatively impacted, and that's going to damage your brand. Whereas on the other hand, if you're using your CRM to its full potential, you're really going to enable far better experiences and position yourself as an agency that stays front of mind for the right reasons. Another one would be improving recruiter efficiency. So one big example of this is if your recruiters can't trust in your data, they're going to end up working outside of your CRM, which can waste such a huge amount of time. Bullhorn shared a great stat, which was around 70% of placements made with candidates who were sourced from outside of Bullhorn, but around 66% of those candidates already existed in that company's Bullhorn system. So you can only imagine the time savings you'd benefit from if your consultant started with the candidates in your database rather than looking externally. And then the last point I'd mention on this, sorry, just to finish off this one, Kris, is it's absolutely crucial for automation and AI. So if you're running automations and AI based on your data and the data isn't where it needs to be or in the format you need it in, your automations and AI prompts are going to fall over straight away. And there's so much potential for automation and AI. We hear all the time about efficiency gains, but we also hear from people who it isn't working for. And more often than not, the problem is the underlying data.
Yeah, no, that's. I think that's a really good point. I think something you mentioned there, Lauren, that is particularly relevant is the idea of working like outside versus inside your CRM. And I think as the marketing approach of the recruitment industry changes and evolves, we've seen recently Stephen Bartlett's getting involved with a bit of marketing slant on, but I won't go too far into that. I know some people are quite unhappy about what he said, but like the point is that what we want to get across here is that it's never been a silver bullet, just blasting out thousands and thousands of emails. But now, as it's been restricted even more, like it really is about making the most of the tools that you've got, which is your website. You've got to have one. Your CRM, you've pretty much got to have one. And actually, by looking at what you've got, much like that Bullhorn example, there's probably a lot there that you can sort of make the most of. And I suppose on that theme, when it comes to making the most of, and we go back to the website piece, what if I'm sat with a nice looking website, but that is pretty much just a brochure on the internet at the moment, Will? Like, what can I do with a website, to turn it into a more of a lead generating machine, or at least a lead capturing machine?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to pick up on some points that Lauren was saying, actually, kind of all these kind of points of it flow together, really. And I think you can be using your CRM data on your website to do great campaigns. One of the recommendations that Google puts out there is send people emails they actually want to receive. And we sort of recommend setting up some marketing automations that are triggered by your website. So we have one which is based on your CRM data, which is called passive user reactivation. So what that means is someone's converted on your website a long time ago. And because they've converted, you've stored their IP address in your marketing system or your CRM. What we can then do is next time they visit your website, we're going to know about it, right? And we can also know what pages they visited because we're able to see that source information. From that point, we can create triggers. So they've been a client prospect in the past, or they're looking at some client information on your website. That automation would then trigger them to go into a client reactivation journey, and they'll then receive relevant nurturing emails that are providing them information that's similar to what they were browsing. So it's an opportunity to turn that sort of passive browsing into a lead with relevant content. Similar one, which is a lead generation one, which is a new person that's just converted onto your website. You could set up a nurturing journey for them, or you could have them flow into your CRM system, and then they drop onto someone's call list because you know what they're interested in, and that is powering your consultants with information about who they could be contacting based on activities on your website. They're kind of very traditional ways to do it, but there's still great things you can be doing with that. Obviously, lead magnet content's always going to be a big one. Very unfashionable, I would say, or scoffed about by recruitment marketeers is salary reports. But the industry, all candidates and clients love salary reports. Everyone wants to know, are they being paid in line with the industry trends? And you'll get a whole heap of leads from that. You can ask on the forms for those salary reports, are you downloading this because you're looking for a job? Are you downloading this because you're looking to hire and you want to know what to pay the candidates in your marketplace? And from that, you can do so much with that information. And there's so many other ways to drive people to that lead magnet content other than email. You can obviously put out your social media posts, but you can sponsor relevant industry publications and take out an advert on their website, or get them influencers from those publications or from the industry to talk about the content in your salary report. Get your consultants to talk about it. Put pop-ups on your website. So when someone goes onto your website and they're seeing relevant pages that might relate to the salaries, the pop-up appears inviting them to download the report. So you're really optimizing the likelihood that someone's going to convert to it, and you're really driving traffic to it as well. There's other tools as well that are out there that are cool, that can drive traffic to your website that aren't just email. We've recently partnered with a tool called Conversable, which does lots of sort of chatbot stuff, but they've also got a WhatsApp for Business API, which allows you to broadcast job alerts via WhatsApp, sending them direct to your website. So that's almost like circumventing some job boards and just directing that traffic straight to your website to convert. So there's lots of different activities that you can be doing.
And that's, I think there's a couple of bits there that I think I would pick up on as well, with wearing my marketing hat, which I'm always wearing. I think what you said is about the salary guides is super interesting. And from a content perspective, a common mistake that I see with recruitment businesses is that they think, right, we want to do some marketing, we want to do some stuff, and they start with the stuff and make it, and then sort of work backwards and try and retrofit it to their audience. Whereas the best thing to do is to, do what you just said, Will, and like speak to your audience first and find out what they actually want. And if they might want salary guides, that might be something that's really useful for them, and therefore, like, it's nothing to scoff at. And if that's what they want, then you make that thing for them. And you can, from a marketing perspective as well, rather than thinking about these, huge email campaigns that we're just blasting out saying, hi, I'm a recruiter, can I recruit for you? I'm dead good at recruitment, I promise. We can use a content campaign, take a salary guide as an example, and use the creation of it and the fact-finding part of it as business development tools for our consultants. So by that, I mean, you could get your consultants to identify 20 target accounts, get in touch with them to find out what they want to see in this salary guide, and then use small email campaigns, use in-mails, use connections on LinkedIn, and try and get in touch on the basis that we're adding value to these people. Then when the salary guide is done, we can send it back to them. And then when it's sent to them, we can get in touch with them again and say, well, how do you feel about that? Now we're a month, 3 months, 6 months out, are we ready for next year? So it's really about getting that whole holistic marketing content strategy all in one place, so that we're not seeing, right, if we write a blog, that's over there for them to do, well, I get on with my BD. It's really seeing marketing and content and all this good stuff as sales enablement, which is something that I talk about quite a lot. And I think thinking outside the box a little bit as well in terms of other approaches. I don't know if we saw the thing that Loxo did yesterday, who are a sort of CRM provider. If I've just described that wrong, I'm sorry. Then they did 100 most influential people in recruitment, launched that yesterday, and then said that they're going to give, I think, £1,000 to charity to the person on that list who gets the most engagement on LinkedIn. That's pretty wild. They're going to get some pretty wild numbers on Loxo. I mean, we're talking about it. I'm talking about it now. And that is a relatively simple.
Were you on the list, Kris? Is that why you're talking about it?
I was 101st, unfortunately.
All right, so
yeah, didn't quite make the cut. but no, yeah, it's just but that's just a really nice idea of like thinking outside the box.
100%. Just to touch on that point, I mean, we're kind of
Yeah.
going off website a little bit now, but yeah, that lead magnet content, the salary reports need to be a holistic thing. And when I worked as part of Harvey Nash Group, you know, they had a salary survey, which was 6 months of collecting data that was flowing into that salary report. You know, so there's campaigns building up to it that are flowing through their website as well. And then all the findings that get turned into sales decks, other collateral, webinars, and so on, they're talked about at conferences. And it empowers your sales team in so many ways. So they are so important for that kind of wider generation of traffic and content. Same with events. For me, you know, an event can be a flash in the pan on that one night, but the eight-week campaign that you might have beforehand, you're generating so much noise around your business and so much traffic, and the sign-ups are leads that are coming into your CRM. So, you know, they're all really great focal points as part of your campaign calendar.
Or webinars.
Precisely.
On a topic that might be relevant to the audience as well, which, you know, this being a good example of one. Yeah, exactly. And what I would say as well is, if anyone's got any further questions you want us to come to at the end, then we will absolutely do our best to answer them. We've talked again there, you know, coming back to it, it's about the data, creating data, having, you know, good data, and then using that as a basis for our call lists and for our consultants to use and for us to market to, and, you know, all those great points moving forward. But I think if we take a little step back and think about data in of itself, and people talk about clean data, and like what do people mean by that, Lauren? Like what does clean data mean? And like, is some data cleaner than others? Or like, and how do we go about that sort of process? Because I think that's something that a lot of people are grappling with at the moment. Like, when do I stop? When do I stop cleaning?
I think, clean data is a bit of an abstract phrase, isn't it? So in my mind, what I say, what we really mean by clean data is ensuring it's accurate, consistent, and complete. Those are kind of the three buckets that I would put that into, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But also, to pick up on the point as to when to stop cleaning your data, I would say never. And I think it can be helpful to split the process of cleaning up data into three categories or levels. So I would think of it in terms of legacy data. So you're cleaning up the old kind of historical data that lives in your CRM, that has built up over time. Maybe as your business processes have changed, that legacy data hasn't changed, so you're bringing that up to date. Then we've got sweeper, so that's sort of ongoing data quality. That's kind of, if we think about the take a house cleaning analogy, you're always cleaning up, you're just kind of doing the day-to-day maintenance to keep things ticking over. And then you've got gathering new data, so enhancing your data as you're going forward. You don't want your data to become stale or static, so you want that to be kind of enriched and added to over time. So yeah, never stop cleaning it. It's not kind of a one and done type of thing. And if I go back to sort of looking at the accuracy, so making sure the information in your CRM is up to date, it reflects the latest interactions and updates in relation to candidates, clients, jobs. So things like qualifications, location preferences, statuses. I got a text message a few weeks ago offering me shifts for a role in which I have no experience and in a location where I don't live and I have never lived. And it's not the first text message I've had from that company. So that's just me as one individual, as an example. You can only imagine the number of people that kind of live deep within databases that people are firing out comms to and getting no responses from, and sort of wondering why. Keeping it accurate, helps improve your search results, gives your consultants faith in the system, and trust that, again, that they'll find the candidates that they need in your system. If we think about consistency and also keeping it valid, so having consistency makes it so much easier to run reports and automations that actually work. Standardizing data entry formats for things like job titles, skills, making sure that you've got the same formatting, using drop downs, that type of thing to keep things consistent. And then also looking into options to have validations in place to prevent inconsistent and incomplete entries as well. And then finally, making it complete. So capturing relevant information for candidates, things like contact details and CVs. We've actually been working with a customer recently who we helped find all of the customers, all of the candidates in their system that didn't have a CV. They were then able to contact those candidates, contact them for an up-to-date CV, and then the numbers they saw from the people that actually went on to supply updated CVs who'd previously been overlooked for roles, that customer went on to make £800,000 from those candidates. You can see the value that's kind of hiding in there.
Yeah, that's mega. And I think clearly this has touched a nerve. I obviously didn't turn the public chat on tactically for the first 20 minutes of the webinar, so then dropped it in. So we got a flurry of questions, which has worked to perfection. But there's been a couple on data, Lauren. One is from Rachel, which she said, what would you say is the best or quickest way to clean data? Like, I need to start working on this, but don't know where to begin. I suppose in my experience, I've used Bullhorn in the past. Bullhorn automation is quite a nice way that you can get stuff ticking over in the background. Mm-hmm. But have you got any other suggestions, or I suppose any strategies or a plan that you can do? Because it can feel overwhelming, can't it? If you come in and you've got 250,000 records in your database, where do you start?
It can feel so overwhelming. And I think breaking it down is really important. I think in terms of the individual tools that will be available to each company, it depends really on the CRM that you're using. But I would say kind of a good best practice in ways of dealing with the data is doing an audit. So looking at what you need and what you have, and then identifying the gaps there, and kind of start with establishing best practices and really understanding what it is that you need. Also looking at integrations. So how is the data coming into your CRM, and what do you have in place to deal with that and ensure that that incoming data is kept clean? If you're not kind of establishing those things from the ground, any kind of data cleaning you do will quickly become overrun by kind of the stuff that's making it dirty in the first place. Then I would say look at data enrichment, so making sure it's as complete as possible. Also getting internal buy-in and training. I think this is a step that a lot of people overlook and maybe jump ahead of. But in terms of the best way to not only clean data, but make sure it's kept clean on an ongoing basis is getting that internal buy-in. So showing your consultants why clean data is important and explaining to them what their part is in contributing to make sure it stays clean as well. In terms of individual tools, NeverBounce is a great email verification tool. So for example, in ensuring email deliverability, reducing your spam rates, I've used NeverBounce. I think it's great. It works with various different data sources.
It's really cheap as well, isn't it? NeverBounce,
yeah,
which is a great thing.
Yeah, it's probably the most cost effective and useful one that I've found. And then, the other options really depend on your CRM. So I use HubSpot, and their workflows are really helpful for keeping data up to date. And then for Bullhorn users, I can obviously talk to that. So we've got Kyloe data tools, which can help people merge duplicates. It can help you find candidates who have gaps. And then it can help you run automated data updates. And that's also a great partner for Bullhorn automation as well. So those would be my starting recommendations. But yeah, it depends on what CRM you have.
And just staying on this theme, and Will, I think this is also a question for you. It's a little bit data-y and CRM-y, but I think it's relevant from a lead capture. Well, there's two. I'll ask this question twice. First of all, what Nathan's asked is, if you're setting up a CRM from scratch, what he means is what data points are key to include so that your data is good and useful from the start to create a good foundation. And I would extend that question a little bit further for you, Will, and say, if we're thinking about forms or lead capture on a website, what field would you say are particularly important to get there? Because I've done it myself in the past, where you can create a form for something and then go, didn't get the job title.
Yeah,
That's a massive pain. But yeah, so Lauren, if I start with you, what, I suppose it might be a big question, but like, what sort of fields, what data points would you say are essential for CRM, and then Will for sort of form and lead capture?
Yeah, I think for candidates, it's things like first name, last name, so that when you're sending out communications, you are able to personalize those appropriately. And also
so splitting it in two, you mean?
Yeah. And I would also make sure that if possible to standardize the formatting of those names as well. So I don't know if you've seen this, I've seen it before, where you get an email and it's sort of, "Hi, Lauren," and my first name is all in capitals, things like that. So you can standardize it so that it's capital L and the rest is lowercase, makes it feel a bit more authentic. I would say things like making sure you've got the files that you need for them. So having the ability to submit their CV, phone number, email address, and location, I would say are all key points so that your consultants can run more effective searches in the database.
And I would add one more to that as well, which Will, you might also say for your lead gen, is where did you find out about us? Why are you here? Because that could just really inform stuff. But yeah, go on, Will.
Yeah, absolutely. For marketing ROI, it's huge, isn't it? I'd add, obviously, you mentioned job title. I think like send the relevant things to the right people, of course. Lauren mentioned location. Again, it's going to help you segment so much better if you're inviting people to an event and they live nearby. There's no point inviting them if they live in another country or a million miles away. The additional things that I mentioned earlier, actually, why are you downloading this content? Why are you looking to attend this event? Are you downloading it because you are looking to hire, because you are looking for a job, because you're looking to build your network? You're looking to meet, you're looking for new opportunities. I feel like that helps you so much in terms of qualifying that lead in a far earlier stage. I've built quite a lot of sort of automations to help leads be passed in-house off the back of those website forms. So the product tech team that hire for those product roles, they're going to get an alert, an email notification saying someone who's interested in hiring has just downloaded the salary survey looking at product roles. And if you can do that and pass that lead automatically, it saves you so much time. And if you can put some invisible fields in the form as well, which also tag that lead, you can then start building out campaign reporting and ultimately report marketing ROI.
And I think, yeah, that's really useful. And I think to provide another field that I found really useful throughout my time in marketing and generating ROI is those fields for consultants as well, like in the CRM when they're putting stuff in there, just putting like the source, or so things can be attributed to marketing or from the right place, that you can then use. It's maybe a little bit more qualitative, but just making sure that people are having those conversations, because like I think what is important to remember is that the three of us, I'd like to think, are all pretty good at marketing in what we do. But if we're marketing for our respective businesses, we can't make the placements. We don't sell the website. We put people in a position to sell the Kyloe data tools or the website. And it's the same with marketers and recruitment companies. Like, we can't make the placements, but we can just make it as easy as possible, or facilitate those conversations with consultants to be a lot easier. And therefore, it's really important to give the consultants the opportunity to say that has come from us, because then you can hopefully create a culture that's a little bit more meritocratic, whereby you can hopefully get to a point where you say, well, I will work with the consultants that have got the most out of this stuff because they're doing it right. And, it changes that little power balance a little bit. Sorry, Will, one question from Paul was just on the WhatsApp. Was that conversible? You mentioned that tool.
Yes, it was. Yeah. And I'll just add to that point. I mean, 100%. I was speaking to our head of sales about this before I joined the call, actually. And there's a fine line when you're a recruiter between showing that you're informed and that you care about the candidate's journey to that job application, and being a bit of a stalker. But I think there's nothing wrong with saying, like, I saw you were looking at X, Y, and Z, and you're obviously interested in that. do you want to have a conversation about it? And I think if you say in a genuine way, and you've empowered the recruiter to have that information, that's a massively powerful thing. And Sourceflow websites actually provide that candidate journey. So the site they came from and every page they viewed on your recruitment website. So, and we actually pushed that information into Bullhorn. So that's a really, really powerful thing for consultants to have that information, and it really helps their traditional phone outreach. But sorry, the Conversable is the tool to answer your question.
No, that's I totally agree, and I think it's the thing of, we at Kitto, sort of our thing is that we say recruitment is a marketing job, which everybody loves and gets no opposition whatsoever from recruiters who perhaps don't see it that way. But it is that, and for me, it's a team effort now. I think that marketing is a pretty specialist skill, and therefore that's why you need that market resource in your business to make the most of your sales team's time, so that they're going out and having really well-informed conversations. And if you're getting in touch with someone and saying, look, I saw you're interested in this, do you want a bit more information about it? That's a great thing to do. And it's also another reason to hold back a little bit when you put your content out there. Say you've got a salary survey, or you've got an article, or you've got a little bit like that. You have some stuff you don't put in that, so then your consultants can get in touch with the person who's downloaded it and say, oh, I've got a bit more around that thing that you like the look of. Do you want to have a chat about it? And then they're adding that value, and it starts that conversation. I totally agree. So question for you both here, from Robert, which is I suppose, Lauren, from a data cleansing perspective, how does a recruitment website integrate with a CRM? Is it just passing applications from the website to the CRM and posting jobs from the CRM to the website, or is there more?
I think those are the kind of main use cases. And if we think about the candidates coming into a CRM from a website as well, I would like to mention duplicates here. I touched on them before a bit, but not just from candidates sort of applying for roles or submitting their CV, but also maybe if we go back to the lead magnet and downloading content as well. If you've got them set up to flow through to your CRM, you're going to get duplicates, and that can be something to really keep an eye out for in terms of your reporting, time wasted in terms of looking through your non-single source of truth then, and kind of finding different points of the candidate at different parts of your CRM, and then kind of that negative candidate and client experience as well. So I would say, yes, having candidates coming into your system from the website to the CRM is a really big one and a really, really valuable one as well. But duplicates is definitely something to kind of watch out for and keep in mind. And then, posting jobs from the CRM to the website as well is another big one.
What about Will? You got any advance on those interactions between the website and the CRM?
Yeah, you can pass leads through, but it depends on your integration and what CRM you're using. If it's we're talking about a marketing tool that might not necessarily even be integrated with the website, but works around it. Lauren mentioned HubSpot earlier. Obviously, if you've got forms there for leads, they're going to be passed into that CRM system. Sourceflow have built an integration between our forms and Bullhorn as well. So client prospects get passed through, and that kind of relates back to the automations I was talking about earlier. If once they've passed into Bullhorn, they can then flow into Bullhorn automation, and you can build those marketing journeys out from there.
And I would add as well, there's other ways to create those links. If you've maybe inherited a legacy website and aren't lucky enough to be able to consider Sourceflow yet, you can, there are other ways of collecting data from your website. Lauren mentioned HubSpot. There's also things like that's maybe slightly more cost effective, your Force 24s, your active campaigns, other sort of marketing systems that you can plug into your website and create landing pages. I know that there's some recruiters who've been some recruitment marketers and some people leading brands who've been dealt a pretty rough hand with the website they've got, and actually send people to landing pages they've built themselves instead, in lieu of getting that whole new website piece. So there's lots of sort of ways around it. I think that there can also, from my perspective, be a benefit sometimes of not every single thing going into your CRM, because that can cause more hassle than good. I remember when we turned on the LinkedIn and Bullhorn integration a couple of years ago when it was in its infancy, our CRM nearly exploded because it was like everyone who got an email sent to them got added to the CRM, which was bad. Anyway, so question here. I mean, I'm just sticking with some of these questions, and I'll come back onto my questions afterwards because I think they're really useful. But Ben's asked Lauren, how niche would you advise going with your CRM? There is a buzz around niching down to blow up, but becoming too niche can shut the door that have great transferable skill sets and slip the net. I think that's a really, really good question. Like, how niche would you go? Is there sort of any guidance from you guys on this? And I suppose, how can we have data in there that makes people more transferable? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's a really great question, and there is a line that I think we need to avoid becoming way too niche, as Ben says. So you're not sort of excluding candidates who might be really, really relevant and do have those transferable skill sets. I would advise looking at things like how you can keep those skill sets up to date, because that's where the key thing is here. I think if we take the skill set example, if you're putting a client into a new role, that you are then copying, for example, the skills from that role to the candidate profile, so that when they become available again, or you're looking to potentially redeploy them, they've got that up-to-date data in there. So I think it just comes back to making sure you can only work based on the data that you have. And if you can use things like transferable skill sets in there, and you can be tracking that, and ideally automatically updating that, because then it takes the emphasis off your consultants having to do that, then it's going to be really, really beneficial for you.
It's a great shout, that. And I was thinking similarly, preferred type of working situation, like remote, hybrid. Obviously, you can, if you're promoting a role within a certain area, but actually the company would be fine for that role to be remote. Just have that, and you can have it, if you've got the sort of marketing tool that has smart fields, and someone's downloaded the salary survey or applied for a role, and then you say, what kind of working situation would you be interested in? That language was terrible, by the way, but you get my point. How would you prefer to work? Would you be okay to work in the office, hybrid, remote? And that field's kept up to date. You're going to be able to expand your search accurately to the right group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, just for my thoughts on that too, I think having a couple of layers of specialism is good. So maybe you've got industry and then specialism underneath that, where and I think you run the risk of, if you go super, super niche with your specialisms, then as your business hopefully grows and you perhaps add more people into teams, you end up with a huge list of specialisms that are actually quite hard to search for and are quite hard to navigate. I would say that, the thing to do here is to take a strategic approach to your data planning in the same way that would with other aspects of your business. So if you know what markets you're in, what markets you're going to get into, then let's as a management team of whatever team or company or division you're in, let's plan the specialisms we have and make sure there's that interaction between the sales, the consultants, and that ops or that IT team or that marketing team who are setting that up, because then that really allows everyone to be singing from the same hymn sheet and be on the same page. I think that's really important. It's certainly a mistake that I've seen made in the past, where people can't use specialisms because there's 1,000 of them, and everyone's allowed to add their own, and everyone's allowed to make suggestions as to what specialisms go in there, and that's a bad idea. Yeah,
it's got to be natural language, hasn't it? I've been in that sort of board meeting having that chat, and it's always a fun one. But I think it's got a if it's linked to your job search, and that kind of those two things go hand in hand, and they're made with natural language, not just recruitment terminology, I think is also a very smart thing to do, because just because you use that, I've worked in recruitment businesses, and they call the recruiters that specialize in hiring contractors the contracts team. But that kind of language, if you're putting that on your website, might not make sense to candidates because it's internal language. So really focus down and think about how this will look if it is flowing across your systems and on your website and everything like that as well.
Absolutely. So when we were putting together all the collateral and stuff for this this webinar and to put this out, we said we wanted some really nice, measurable, practical tips and tricks and stuff to take away from it. So I'll ask you both, like, for a particular takeaway or something that you think someone could implement today from a data CRM perspective, Lauren, and also I suppose from a website optimization perspective, Will. I'll start with the marketing end, so because I've just put the jump on you with this question and give you a minute to think about it. For me, like, I think you really want to do everything you can to create a list of people or a bucket of people that have opted in to what you want, like that as its base level. If you've got nowhere to collect people who want to hear from you, then it's very, very difficult to manage the success of your campaigns, of your content, of your marketing approach. As I've said, there are marketing automation tools like the ones we've mentioned, HubSpot, Force24, ActiveCampaign. They're all great. But if you want to just make email lists with forms, you can get some nice, really sort of simple, really inexpensive as well, like email marketing tools that you can just put on every post. Every time you share that article, sign up to our newsletter here, join our community here. And then that way you can start to do it. It's a little bit crude sometimes, but you can say, oh, well, that article obviously hit a nerve because 20 people joined our community who are all in our, ideal customer profile. So that would be my sort of takeaway from this, to really try and create that bucket that you can catch people in from a marketing perspective. And then you can sort of build everything out around that. So that would be my thoughts on that. I don't know if anyone's got anything to add to that, or
I certainly would add to that. When I was obviously brushing up on the deliverability rules before jumping on here, and I noticed that auto opt-ins on your forms is actually penalised if you're automatically opting people into that content or to pieces of content. It should be their choice, like Kris just said, and they should choose which pieces of content they're engaging with, and you can set that up. So if you've got auto opt-ins on your site, turn them off and create the list, the options that Kris just mentioned, because you will get penalised by Google and Yahoo if you've got that in place at the moment.
Yeah, mega. Lauren, what about a practical, actionable tip for your data optimization?
I think just start with looking at what you need and what you've got and seeing where the gaps are, and doing a little bit of structuring and planning from the back of that. I think that's the key place to start. This is an annoying phrase, but there really is no kind of one size fits all when it comes to this stuff. So look at it from your own perspective and see what you require, and then take it from there. But have
a plan, right?
Yeah, exactly. Have a plan. And then that's where you can start to build that out. If you go in without a plan, then you're going to find yourself making small tweaks without too much impact. So I'd go in with a plan, and then that's going to give the most impact.
And I think, and like you said earlier, Lauren, as well, I really liked that point you made about the, setting the rules as well for consultants. There's no point me fixing this if you're just, if I'm building the bridge and you're just like cutting the ropes behind me, then we're just going to end up, I'm just going to, what is it, painting the Forth Road Bridge, that sort of thing. Cool. Okay. So there's been a few more questions that I would be keen to ask. So one is from Mario, which is, what email marketing platforms would you recommend using that speak to the CRM in order to see all communication against that contact? I would say for that, I'll ask you to, if you've got any thoughts on this, I would say for that is so dependent on really good data, first of all, like to make sure that all lines up and you've got the correct infrastructure set up. Unfortunately, Mario, you're not just going to be able to turn something on today that gives you any retrospective data if your website's not set up and your CRM's not set up and your email marketing's not set up. Those marketing automation things I mentioned before will all work. Sourceflow, I'd imagine. Is that worth a shout, Will?
We don't have an email marketing platform, but
sure.
But I've used various different ones in my career. I think HubSpot, it's obviously fantastic for all the extra things you can do with email marketing, but that is an enterprise product at an enterprise price. I think everyone probably agree that. Kris mentioned Force 24, use that for email marketing. And it depends, because it depends what CRM you've got. Different email providers will work well with different CRMs. And, what I would advise is, if you're looking at new email partners or marketing platforms and you want it to integrate with one of your CRMs, find out if they've already done it and speak to some of their customers that work in the same industry, that work in recruitment, that it's working well for. Because I've certainly had my fingers burnt where I was told an integration with a CRM was working and it had been done previously and it hadn't. And then it was a 2-year project trying to sort that out. And it was I had hair at the start of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a year in.
Yeah. That's great, mate.
I think, and it's something I would just say on that, and Lauren, I'd be interested to see if you agree with me on this. Like, there's a lot of chat about integration, and in and of itself, integration is a great thing between all of your tech stack and all of your platforms. But if you want to get your marketing going, and you want to do some good stuff to engage people that are in your community, I personally don't think there's a huge issue with having separate things at times. So you can almost have your CRM system, which you want to get your data bang on and up to date, and you can set limits and things like that so that consultants can use some of that data. But then as a marketing system, if you want to have your own little bit that's your thing that has really great data, if people are opting in to receive that data from you, then there's no real issue with them being in both, and you can always cross-reference when they cross a certain lead score or a certain threshold. Is that something, would you always go to integrate all of your systems, Lauren and Will, or can there be merit in that sometimes as well, as I suppose a bit of a starter if you're a bit intimidated by the integration thing?
I personally would start with looking at the integration as the first step, and
okay.
I always kind of advocate for the single source of truth. However, I think there's probably a line of consideration as to not limiting the email marketing functionality that you can get by the CRM that you have. So there's probably a balance to be weighed up there. I have found that when things integrate with one another, it's just so much easier. And I think the question is about kind of that Mario asked, kind of looking at seeing all communication against a certain contact within the CRM. We've had it in the past where we've ran email marketing from a different system, and you kind of couldn't see it all in one place. And then what we actually did was built a card in Bullhorn that showed all of the comms that we were sending from HubSpot, built it in there so that our consultants could go in and look at that in Bullhorn. And it's something they really did find very valuable. So I think it's thinking about it not just from the perspective of the marketing team, but also your consultants, and then being able to go and easily see what has actually been sent to this candidate or this client via our email marketing. So I think there's a balance to be had in terms of ensuring you get the functionality that you need for your email marketing. But I would always advise looking at the integration and taking that really seriously into consideration.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah. I do agree with Lauren. I think I totally understand where you're coming from, Kris, where especially if you are, a high performing consultant and you've gone off to do your own thing, you're definitely not going to be thinking about integration, I would have thought, but you will then meet all the issues if you don't. Because you want to get out there, you want to start putting out your communications, and you can keep some of your data in a marketing system and it will be clean. But as soon as you do get to the point where you've got an applicant tracking system and a separate marketing system, things like GDPR, unsubscribes, things like that, and you start having to go between the two, the attributing sources and where things come from, all of a sudden that gets very complicated, and you end up having to download a list of people every week and update details in different things. So I would integrate them, but I appreciate that is, if you're a small agency just starting out, it's probably not the first thing that you do, but you should.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's me told, isn't it? Makes sense. Nice. So, a couple of other questions. A quick one here for you both. Best cold email platforms. We've come across and been using Instantly with quite a lot of success. That's a pretty good, impactful tool. Uses AI in some pretty cool ways to do cold emails. Again, we're not using this to send out 1,000 emails or 10,000 emails, though. We're still keeping them pretty small and pretty neat, and also having a way to measure the conversions from those emails into those communities and getting them into those opt-in situations as quickly as possible. But yeah, Instantly is one. Do you guys have any others that you'd recommend? Cold email platforms?
I mean, I suppose maybe Sourceflow. That sort of AI-driven systematic outreach. Using sort of natural
desk
language.
Level, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really like that. I've seen consultants use it. I think with a bit of setting up, they can really take a lot off their own shoulders and work on prospect clients over a period of time and do a good job with it. So, that might be one.
I probably...
Lauren, have you got any thoughts?
I think you guys have given a couple of really good examples there. The only thing I would add to that potentially would be HubSpot again, which is, comes with a higher cost, but the sales sequences within HubSpot could be used to kind of really give that personalized feel to the campaigns rather than sending the mass campaigns from the marketing address, for example.
Yeah.
It's funny, you kind of get recruitment specific tools, and you can get tools that are span several industries. And it's down to you how you want to make them work for your business, I would say.
Absolutely. Cool. So we've got about 4 minutes left. So I'm going to ask this one question with a bit of a quick response, and then I'll give you both sort of a minute to tell us a little bit about what to look forward to from Kyloe, from Sourceflow too. So any advice on gating versus ungating your content? For me, I would say, if in doubt, don't gate it, but give them a chance to opt in to receive more stuff from you, because then you can demonstrate the value to them as opposed to holding them to ransom for getting something. What do you guys think?
I would say ungated. We used to do a lot of gated content. We've removed that, and it's not had any impact to the amount of qualified leads that we get. Any negative impact anyway. I would say it's probably increased the amount that we get coming in that we can then act on, whereas the leads we were maybe getting in previously were slightly warm, whereas we can kind of we know that what's coming in now. They've maybe seen the content and gotten that value from it.
I think it depends on how good you are in following up on your leads and capturing information in other ways. Don't mind a big old gate. But I think, you can tantalize people with parts of information, and then put the rest behind a form, and if they're interested, they'll go for it. So I think it's sharing genuine valuable advice as well as gating stuff is the point I would make.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you very much, both. Hopefully this has been useful for everybody watching it. I'll let you sign off by Lauren. Do you want to tell us what to look out for from Kyloe in the not too distant future?
Absolutely. So we have a new product launching very soon called Kyloe AI Assist. That is integrated within Bullhorn. It can be used to generate candidate summaries, generate job adverts, and can leverage the data within your Bullhorn to create those AI outputs for you. So keep an eye out for that coming out very, very soon. And also keep an eye out for Kyloe data tools as well, just kind of going back to some of the things I've already talked about. It's really useful for cleaning up your data. So I'm sure we can share some more details about that after this.
Yeah, and we will follow up with a doc after this with all of our details and everything. But Will, go on, finish us off. What we've got to look forward to from you guys?
Well, I've got to be careful what I'm allowed to speak about, what I'm not allowed to speak about. But we're adding more insights to our analytics dashboard, so you can do better, get better understanding of candidate sources and stuff like that at a higher level, and doing more segmenting and more looking at things from that point of view. Although you can see a lot of that information already, we want to make it more accessible and enable users to play with the data more. And we also are adding some more customizability to the way people make how our users can make landing pages and things like that.
Mega. Right. Well, and so look, thanks very much. Thanks everyone for your time. I'm looking at this. It's 59 minutes, 45 seconds. So we've timed this absolutely perfectly.
Voila.
Thanks very much. Hope it's added value. If anyone wants to get in touch, then we'll circulate everyone's contact details and a bit of a summary document of this. But yeah, that's how to market without mass email. And thanks very much, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.